is Neymar, one of the greatest football players of all time with a God-given talent that has inspired an entire generation of football. And this is his son who, let's just say, might not share that same talent as his father. But this is only one of the 10 footballing children I have to show you. From Ronaldo's golden boy to Beckham's son who quit football at just 22, how good are these footballing kids actually? Will the pressure of their father's name cause them to crumble as a football player, or do they have the potential to be even better than their fathers? And starting off with Thiago Messi, the son of arguably the greatest football player of all time. How many times have we heard someone was going to become the next Messi, only to crumble under the huge weight of expectation? But what happens when you're literally the next Messi? When you're the son of a football genius who has a record-breaking 8 Ballon d'Ors, 4 Champions Leagues, and a World Cup too? As Messi lit up the Camp Nou for over a decade, his talent appeared so outrageous that it could be considered to be alien. And this wasn't a talent that could be gained in the gym, perfected on the training field, or taught by a coach. Messi was just born with it. So, if Lionel was born with the talent to rule a generation, is this something he's passed on to his son? Thiago Messi is now 12 years old, and the young talent seems to be showing early signs he could have an excellent career in football. As with most players on this list, Thiago has played in whatever academy his dad was playing for at the time. Starting at La Masia while his dad played for Barcelona, Thiago then moved to PSG, and now the Inter Miami youth team. The kid wears his dad's famous number 10 jersey, and his low center of gravity helps him twist, turn, and glide with the ball, sometimes looking very similar to his legendary father. Thiago has been making headlines throughout his life, with the most recent being his goal in the 2025 MIG football tournament because it reminded many of prime Leo, as the youngster broke in behind the defense and finished with a beautiful outside of the boot finish. Although as well as he may be doing over in Miami, if he really wants to make it like his father did, he's going to have to make his way back to Europe at some point to join one of the top tier academies, so it still remains to be seen whether the boy can really live up to the name on the back of his jersey. But whilst Thiago Messi is training in Miami because his dad plays for the club, Romeo Beckham was there because his dad owns it. But despite his dad's footballing name, at just 22 years old, Romeo decided to quit football entirely. You see, the 22-year-old was born a celebrity and has enjoyed a childhood so luxurious that having the grit to become a professional footballer was almost impossible. Romeo's relaxed approach to football contrasted David's relentless pursuit of becoming one of the world's greatest players, because during Beck's career at Man United, Real Madrid, LA Galaxy, AC Milan, and PSG, he was known for his hard work and humility despite being a global star. But as Beckham's commercial fame and his marriage to Spice Girls star Victoria made them world famous, their kids grew up constantly in the public eye. Romeo was born at the height of David's fame and spent his early years dodging paparazzi while enjoying the perks of being a Beckham. And his dad's fame helped him join Arsenal's academy in 2024 as a 12-year-old, but Romeo's lack of clear talent saw the club release him just a year later. But after 6 years away from the sport, Romeo said he wanted to return to football, and reports say David replaced Romeo's tennis courts at home with a full-size football pitch and signed the 20-year-old to Inter Miami's reserve team. Romeo played 26 games for Inter Miami 2 in the US third tier before moving back to London to join Brentford's B team. He played a few times as Brentford B won the 22-23 Premier League Youth Cup and kept playing for them during the 23-24 season, but still, lacking the clear hunger his dad had, he had little chance to break into Brentford's first team, so Romeo and the club agreed his skills might be better elsewhere, and just like that, the Beckham son retired early, and in 2024, Romeo signed for a top Paris fashion agency, meaning he ditched the beautiful game for the game of beauty. So, while David's passing range made PSG supporters awe in the French capital, Romeo will be looking to turn heads on the runway instead. But while Beckham's children will always have fashion to fall back on, Wayne Rooney didn't have the gene of beauty to pass on, so his kids have to rely purely on their football skills to do the talking. And Wayne Rooney's oldest son, Kai, certainly looks talented enough to follow in his dad's footsteps. Wayne was a fierce teenage footballer who left the Merseyside streets to become the Premier League's most wanted youngster after scoring a wonder goal against Arsenal at 16. The raw Everton kid later joined Man United, where he won 5 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, and became the club's all-time top scorer. And his career might have been even better if he'd had better role models early on, as Wayne recalls tough street fights during his teenage years, drinking alone on days off at his peak, and struggling with fame placed on him from such a young age. But whilst Wayne was an unready kid from a rough background forced to cope on the world stage, Kai has had a more stable upbringing, protected from his dad's struggles. Kai first joined United's academy in 2016 and moved to Bethesda SC when Wayne played in America. The family returned to the UK in 2020, and Kai rejoined United at 11, and he's been making waves ever since. The youngster has the same strong build as his dad, great technique, and a friendly, down-to-earth personality Rooney, and in 2025, Kai went viral after scoring a brilliant solo goal for United's U17s against Real Sociedad, then scoring the winning goal in United's U15 Premier League Floodlit Cup North final. Kai follows United's first team everywhere, plays youth matches above his age, and is definitely on track to becoming a professional player who can give his dad's legacy a run for its money. With Wayne's support, it's surely possible, something that cannot be said about Ronaldinho's son Joao Mendes, who spent the majority of his childhood away from his superstar father. Ronaldinho is one of the game's most popular players ever. His infectious smile, embodiment of Joga Bonita flair, and laid-back personality made the trickster almost impossible not to love. The magician's solo goal during an El Clasico at the Bernabeu made even Real Madrid fans applaud him, while his Nike commercials, YouTube highlight reels, and swagger inspired a generation of football fans. Like Messi, Ronaldinho's trickery seemed natural rather than taught by coaches or enhanced in the gym. So, many assumed his son Joao Mendes would inherit the same command of the ball, but Ronaldinho's short relationship with Joao's mother, Janaína, ended soon after the child was born because of Ronaldinho's party lifestyle in his time in Europe. This meant that Dino wasn't always present during his son's early years, which are crucial for a child. Eventually, Ronaldinho returned to Brazil, and that's when Joao began taking football seriously and eventually earned a move to Flamengo, a club his father represented a few seasons earlier. Yet, unlike many players on this list, this wasn't nepotism because many at the iconic Brazilian academy believed Joao genuinely had the talent to surpass his father's career. Joao eventually joined fellow Brazilian side Cruzeiro, signing his 6-year professional contract, but this would have had to be cut short, and for good reason, because it wasn't long before Europe came calling for the boy, and at 18 years old, he signed for one of the biggest clubs in the world, Barcelona. Joao played in Barcelona's youth setup as a left back, but that didn't stop the Brazilian from showing flair as he pulled off ball rolls from his own box and oozed confidence throughout the games. But despite being talented, he failed to impress strongly at La Masia, being deemed surplus as he was eventually sent off to the mighty Burnley in 2024. Joao made several appearances for Burnley's U21 team, but yet again was released at the end of the 24-25 season, and as Europe doesn't seem as excited about him as they were for his father, but who knows, maybe the Brazilian could still make a career at a lower level of the game. Replicating the greatness of Ronaldinho was always going to be tricky for Joao, but imagine you had to replicate the task of your father and your grandfather too. This is the life of Daniel Maldini, because his grandfather Cesare Maldini was a legendary Italian center back who won 4 Serie A titles and a European Cup, but somehow Cesare's son Paolo Maldini was able to eclipse the legacy of his father as he won 7 Serie A titles and 5 Champions Leagues, as he has gone down in history as one of the greatest defenders in the history of the sport. So, with Paolo bettering his dad's trophy haul, will Daniel be able to do the same? The youngster has already begun to follow in the footsteps of his father and grandfather after signing a youth deal with AC Milan in 2010, where he rose the ranks for 14 years, eventually breaking into the first team in 2020, making 14 appearances. Unlike his father, Daniel plays as an attacking midfielder, but still, many of the adoring San Siro crowd hope the latest Maldini footballer could become a mainstay in the team and one day captain Milan to glory. Yet things didn't go as smoothly for Daniel as they did for his ancestors, as Milan isn't the powerhouse it once was, and Daniel doesn't seem to be the titan his father was either. After a few years in the first team, Daniel was deemed surplus to requirements, so the Italian midfielder was shipped out to Monza in 2024. But Daniel wasn't going to let his hopes of becoming an all-time great slip away just like that, because after a great season with the Serie A side, he earned a €13 million move to Atalanta. And since joining Atalanta, Daniel has featured for the Italian national team 5 times and looks talented enough to secure a starting spot over the next decade. Still only 20 years old, Daniel has the time and potential to become one of the most established attacking midfielders of his generation. But equaling the trophy haul of his granddad Cesare, never mind Paolo, seems like an almost impossible task. Now, while Daniel is hopeful of becoming the next great Maldini, not all footballing kids continue their father's legacy, because Neymar's son Davi Lucca prefers to play basketball and video. Neymar was one of the finest players of his generation and perhaps the most skillful player of all time, as he shocked the world with his dancing feet during the peak of his playing career at Santos, Barcelona, and Paris Saint-Germain. As he lifted the Champions League in 2015 and became the most expensive player of all time after joining PSG a couple of years later. However, like Ronaldinho, Neymar consistently made headlines for his lavish partying and spent most of his career living on the opposite side of the planet from his son. Still, despite the distance, the pair maintained a great relationship. Davi regularly traveled to Europe to spend time with Neymar and has been spotted delivering water to the former Barcelona superstar during halftime intervals. But Just make sure Davi doesn't sneak onto the pitch, because since returning to Santos, Neymar has invited his son to mess around at training on a few occasions, and let's just say he hasn't impressed. Videos of the duo having a kickabout show Neymar displaying the trickery that made him iconic at Barcelona and PSG, while Davi tumbles and gets nutmegged as he tries to tackle his Brazilian legend father. Other clips show the boy who was supposed to inherit Neymar's technical genius attempting to curl the ball into the net from a corner kick, only to see his efforts sadly trickle into the side netting. And unsurprisingly, with his father preferring to enjoy his company in other ways, Davi isn't actively pursuing a career in football, and that might just be for the best. But the same can't be said for Marcus Thuram, whose father Lilian became a French legend, and now Marcus is one of the best strikers in the world, playing up front for Inter Milan. But the towering forward has some way to go before he rivals the career of his father. Lilian was a world-class center back for Juventus, Barcelona, and France, winning the World Cup in 1998, the European Championships in 2000, and was listed by Pelé as one of the 100 greatest ever players to play the game in 2006. After retiring in 2008, all eyes turned to his eldest son Marcus, who'd watched Lilian star for Barcelona and was even gifted Lionel Messi's boots, further inspiring him to become a professional footballer himself. Marcus signed as a striker for French side Sochaux's youth team in 2012 before joining Ligue 1 outfit Wincom as a 20-year-old in 2017, where the Frenchman scored 12 goals and earned a move to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Marcus's stock continued to rise in the Bundesliga as the 6'4" striker notched 34 goals in 111 appearances, attracting interest from the French national team and signing for Serie A giants Inter Milan in 2023. However, Inter Milan's rivalry with his father's former side Juventus has caused some playful family tensions. Marcus was filmed celebrating and jumping around to anti-Juventus songs when Lilian appeared from nowhere to slap his son and remind him of his family's roots. Nonetheless, Marcus's move to Inter has been an undisputed success, scoring 27 goals in 67 Serie A appearances and featuring in the 2025 Champions League final. Age 27 and a regular member of the French national team, he still has time to replicate his father's legendary international triumphs. But with just a Serie A title and a Supercopa to his name at the moment, he won't be putting his medals on the family table just about yet. And it's the same story for Justin Kluivert, because despite managing to play pro at the top level, he continues to live in the shadows of his father's success. You see, his dad Patrick Kluivert won the La Liga and even a Champions League, making him a football great. Patrick played for Ajax, AC Milan, and Barcelona and is one of the greatest Dutch players of all time. His career saw the 6'3" attacker score over 200 times, while his tactical prowess earned him the Dutch assistant manager job in 2012. So, when the world discovered that a physical, technical, and tactical genius had a child shining in the Ajax youth teams, expectations were through the roof. Justin's breakthrough into the Amsterdam club's first team was not disappointing, as he scored 12 Eredivisie goals, earning an €18.75 million move to Roma in 2018. At the time, the Dutch teenager was among the most exciting prospects in world football, and many believed he could enjoy a career as great as his father's. But while Justin has a strong career representing Roma, RB Leipzig, Nice, Valencia, and Bournemouth, he never developed into the international sensation many hoped that he would. Now at 26 years old, Justin has represented the Dutch national team on 7 occasions and is yet to win a major honor. This isn't to say he's a bad player, as he's an impressive mid-table Premier League winger, but it's hard to see him rivaling the career of his dad anytime soon. Now, for the kid you have all been waiting for, possibly the most famous kid in the entire world. How good is Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. actually? Well, his dad is obviously one of the greatest football players of all time, as the Portuguese legend won 5 Ballon d'Ors, 4 Champions Leagues, and 7 domestic titles after transforming himself from a skinny teenage show pony to a devastating goal-scoring machine. Cristiano's natural talent was evident on his now famous Old Trafford debut against Bolton Wanderers, but he wouldn't have become one of the all-time greats without his relentless work ethic and off-field lifestyle. Even Gary Neville was stunned by his ultra-clean diet and game preparation, which is exactly why CR7 is concerned whether Cristiano Jr. matches his desperation to become the best. According to Ronaldo, his son sometimes eats junk food, avoids ice baths, and seems unfocused in the days leading up to matches. But the teenager has still made a promising start to his youth career, representing Juventus, Man United, and Al Nassr's academies before receiving a call-up to feature for Portugal's U15 team in May 2025. 2005. He scored twice wearing the number 7 jersey as Portugal defeated Croatia 3-2, alerting the interest of scouts from Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, and of course, Man United. The 14-year-old already stands at 185 centimeters tall, looks imposing on the pitch, and has unquestionable potential. By his father's admission, he has the potential to be good as he's fast and can beat players. That said, he needs to work hard and show dedication. While Cristiano Jr.'s work rate might not meet the ridiculous standards of his Real Madrid legend dad, there's arguably no greater athlete for the teenager to learn about body conditioning, mindset, and technique improvement from. So, if the penny drops for the teenage sensation, the football world might have to brace itself for another unstoppable Ronaldo, and I'm sure we won't be complaining about that. But whilst CR7 Jr. has the ultimate role model to look up to, the same can't be said for Robinho Jr. because, despite being the son of a footballing great, he was forced to grow up without a dad as he was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Luckily though, Neymar owed the family a favor, so he stepped in as the mentor for the son. It's truly an incredible story because when Neymar was 18 and playing for Santos the first time around, he received dribbling tutoring from the then 26-year-old Robinho. However, after an incredible career which saw Robinho dazzle for Real Madrid, Man City, and AC Milan, the winger was sentenced to 9 years in prison over a sexual assault conviction, leaving his son without guidance for his prospering football career. Yet, the uncertainty surrounding his father's convictions didn't stop Robinho Jr. from becoming a truly special talent himself. He signed a youth contract with Santos in 2022 as a 14-year-old and immediately showed the same trickery, confidence, and dominance as his dad at the peak of his powers. With Nike Mercurials on his feet, socks pulled high, and a skinny build, he looks reminiscent of a teenage Robinho or Neymar, and when Neymar returned to Santos in 2025, he was eager to help the youngster become Brazil's next great winger. The master and apprentice relationship between Neymar and Robinho Jr. is already proving fruitful, and if you weren't paying close attention to the teenager's Santos youth team clips, you'd be forgiven for thinking it was 2010 Neymar as he nutmegs defenders and showboats on the ball. In July 2025, Robinho Jr. was awarded his Santos first team debut during a 3-0 victory over Flamengo and played alongside Neymar in his 2 subsequent appearances. The talented winger is still only 17, but the sky is truly the limit, and if any son of a footballing legend looks capable of one day winning a Ballon d'Or, I have to say it's Robinho Jr. But if you want to see about all the players who actually won the Ballon d'Or and how good they actually were, click the video on screen now and subscribe!